Salam viewers, this is your host Muhammad Ali Haider and you're watching your very own career quest where dreams meet direction. A prominent psychoanalyst and psychotherapist, Carl Jung, once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." This episode will delve into the power of self-discovery. We'll talk about how one can blend their interests, their passion and profession to form a fulfilling and successful career. We have with us today a very intellectual panel today to begin with. First of all, we have with us Dr. Ayesha Majeed. She is an educational psychologist, career advisor as well as a career counselor. Assalamu alaikum ma'am, and thank you so much for coming. We have with us today our second guest, Dr. Hina Iqbal. She is a Deputy District Educational Officer serving right now in Lahore. Assalamu alaikum ma'am, and welcome to the show as well. Dr. Ayesha, to formally begin with our discussion, how important is one's interest when it comes to pursuing a career?
Certainly, it is very important to consider one's interests while pursuing for a career. Interests are something that we enjoy doing, we feel drawn to. And of course, if someone picks a career that he or she enjoys, definitely he or she is going to land in a safe haven. And conscious and mindful career choices definitely contribute to your mental health and job satisfaction as well. And of course, we have ample research support for the fact that people who choose careers of their choices, they are more happy and satisfied with their jobs. And definitely interests should be considered and they should be given a weightage while making career decisions.
Your point is noted, ma'am. Dr. Hina, I'd like to know, at first we talked about the interests. Let's talk about the strengths that a student or a professional should have. How important is one's strengths when it comes to choosing a particular career?
In my point of view, strengths are basically abilities and skills we are naturally good at. They can be technical like coding or soft skills like communication and the leadership. Actually, recognizing your strengths means identify your careers where you can thrive.
Ma'am, Dr. Ayesha, there are a lot of students who do not really know what their interests are, and it makes it very hard for them to define a certain path that they need to opt for their career, for their profession, etc. So how do you as a career counselor and an advisor give the direction to the students and help them in finding what their interests are?
Globally, aptitude tests are used to measure the interest in a certain career. Aptitude tests are formal tests that are taken subjectively, and they do give an idea about the certain aptitude and abilities of the participant. Now, they are available online and one can use them according to their convenience, but I would advise that people should go to professional career counselors. Almost every institution in Pakistan now has a counselor or some mentor to guide about the career. So, professional advice and a blend of professional advice and of course the test results can certainly guide the students about their future. Moreover, students can also reflect upon their abilities, their interests, their passion, and they can also take brief courses, they can go for internships, they can talk to their teachers, mentors, and above all, parents can also guide about that. Here I would like to add a point here that I would like to request parents to consider the interest of their children. They should not pressurize their children, they should not make them follow the stereotypical beliefs that a certain field has chance of money making or certain field has scope. So I would request all the parents to consider the interest of their children. So overall, I think aptitude test and a professional guidance can help choose one's career.
All right, your point is noted, ma'am. Dr. Hina, I'd like to know, how can somebody, a student or a profession or a teenager, can identify his or her strengths?
They can ask themselves questions: how do I well do? What others do praise me for? And they can also attempt many strength-based assessment tests. For example, there is a test called Clifton Assessment Test. They can take it. It is basically a test which helps to measure your natural talent or the ways of thinking, feelings, or your behaviors towards the others. There is another great way, in my point of view, there is another great way in which the person can identify their strengths. There is a feedback. Feedback is actually a very, you can say, very great tool where the people know where they have to go. So, feedback from the families, very good. Feedback from the peers, feedback from the friends, and feedback from the teachers. They have very important part to choose the career for the students.
All right. Dr. Ayesha, as Dr. Hina talked about the importance of the role of parents as well as the teachers. Being an educationist yourself, how do you see a teacher can play a role in finding one's interests and strengths?
Of course, teachers knows best about the abilities of their students, and they can certainly encourage their students, they can guide them, they can have an outside class conversation with them to guide them about their future, about certain career paths, about making certain choices, about having certain courses, skill based or any educational course. So they can definitely guide their students, because teachers do have an impact, an unavoidable impact on their students, and definitely they should play their role outside the class as well.
Dr. Hina, as we previously talked about strengths, I'd like to revisit the concept of strengths with you, and I'd like to ask, can strengths be developed, or is it a fixed concept which cannot be redeveloped or developed in their lives?
It's a very good question. Actually, strengths are, some strengths are naturally, but they can be developed with practice and trainings, experiences. For example, if a person who is not a good public speaker, he can improve his speaking with the experiences, with trainings, or with the communication with the others. So, when I was a student, so our sir used to say that if a person wants to teaching and he is not a good teacher, he should start teaching. With the passage of time, he or she will be a good teacher.
So it's the experience that helps you
Yeah,
develop
experience
strengths.
matters a lot. Experience matters a lot, and then ultimately, finally, you will get a command on that subject or on that area.
All right, Dr. Ayesha, as you talked about the experience, how important is experience in developing one's strengths? I'd like to know your point of view on that, because being an educationist yourself, you would obviously observe a lot of students in everyday basis who would come to you for the guidance. So, when you provide them with the guidance, do you look at their strengths or interests or their educational background?
Certainly, I do look at all the points you have mentioned, and see, strength is something that can be partially developed.
All right.
In my opinion, strengths are something that are, God gifted. They reflect more of your personality traits, and you are given with a certain ability, and of course a God gifted ability, a person with a God gifted ability is much better at performance than a person who has learned those skills. So I'm not saying that you cannot learn your strengths, you can learn skills, and of course you can polish your abilities, and I do look at abilities, interests, and their strength and personality profile while providing them with counseling. So of course there are many examples I can quote where I have provided assistance to the students and have helped them in identifying their interest, and of course in some cases there is not much of abilities we can witness, but we can learn those skills. Required skills can be learned and they can be, polished for required field.
All right. Your point is noted, ma'am. Dr. Hina, I'd like to know, there are certain myths that are associated with, career selection or professional development. To debunk those misconceptions and myths, I'd really want to know, is this true that a person is supposed to choose only a certain field and only a certain profession, or is this possible for a person to vary across the professions and fields?
You are very right. We all think that we have to focus on one thing to get success. But I think, in my point of view, in reality, the people have multiple interests and multiple strengths. They are doing multiple things in their lives and they have got success. There is a myth that you must be perfect at something to get success. But growth is a continuous process, and careers evolve over time. So I think there is a need of a time to, you should have multiple strengths and multiple interests to get success in the life, to get success in life.
Dr. Ayesha, there are certain misconceptions that are usually found among students. How do you see those misconceptions? What are those misconceptions? And what we or our educational institutions can do to get rid of those misconceptions and myths and help students to develop their professional careers?
I think myths are not only with students. As parents, we also believe in those myths. And those myths are based on, as I earlier mentioned, on the stereotypical beliefs about certain careers, like becoming a doctor is a sign of prestige, or becoming an engineer is a very,
very
a thing of high profile.
Exactly.
So these myths are based on stereotypical beliefs about money making in certain careers, about having a scope or prestige of certain careers. So I do mention that I do mention to my students that it is not about following those beliefs or that hype of a certain career, like when it was about IT or let's say about going into armed forces or becoming a doctor. So we should consider what we can do, and that is related to our ability.
All right.
And we can definitely pair our abilities with our interest, and of course that can be a great combination. But I try to rewrite these misconceptions with my students so that they can understand and they can make sane career choices. And of course, by doing so, we can help them choose their desired career as well, satisfied their area of interest.
You're absolutely right, ma'am. But with that, I'd like to also know that so there are certain misconceptions among the students, and they still exist. So what are those misconceptions exactly, and how can the institutions help them to get rid of them?
These misconceptions are certainly about going into certain careers, like if we go into computer sciences, we'll make a lot of money.
So there are certain trends that students are prone to follow.
And if we go into a certain field, we'll make a lot of money or we'll have prestige, power. There are many fields like that. So my script of counseling is based on the fact that you should follow your abilities and your interest, and you should go for the fact that what you can do, because career is something you have to live with.
Exactly.
And
very true.
Of course, sane choices are going to make your quality of life much better. So these myths and misconceptions are definitely based on baseless facts. They have no logical grounds. If you have become an anchor and I say that I can also do that because I like the
the industry or the
industry
work,
or I like the glamorous field. But if I do not have the abilities, I cannot become a good host of a show. So that is the discrepancy between having interest and not having ability. And the focus of our counseling is to reduce this discrepancy and make them aware of the facts that what they can do and what they cannot do.
All right, your point is noted, ma'am. Dr. Hina, I'd like to know, there are certain students with a notion that they do not have any strength or any interest. How are we supposed to guide them? How are they supposed to, find out and dig in their interests, their strengths, and utilize them for their career purposes?
I would like to say that everyone has potential.
All right.
And they comes to know these potentials with the passage of time. They should try, they should take start with small, they should try new things, and they should never be afraid of getting failure.
All right.
Because from the past we have heard the story, the King Bruce and the spider. Spider attempt for 17 times and then he got success.
All right.
So it should be actually inculcate in the minds of the students that we should have to try and try again. Then definitely one day they will get success, as every experience teach us actually things that we are not know about ourselves. So every experience teaches something about ourselves, about themselves, and definitely it helps us to improve our personality.
All right. Dr. Ayesha, I'd like to come to you with the same question. For instance, there is a student who comes to you and he tells or she tells that they are not clear about their interests, they don't know what their strengths are. How are you going to guide them, and what steps should they take?
To begin with, formally we do have some tests.
All right.
So if I have no clue that what his or her interests are and what his or her abilities are, I'll administer the test.
Okay.
And other than that, I can deeply interview that person through a semi-structured interview, where I can get an idea about his or her interest, his or her performance in relevant subjects, his or her vision about future, near future and far future, and of course a discussion on what he or she would like to do, what his or her interests are, can definitely give us some options to discuss, and we can discuss those possible options, and we can sketch a career path.
All right, all right. Dr. Hina, as we are concluding, I'd like to know your concluding remarks about the idea in particular of the program Career Quest, and in general how important it is to locate your strengths, and how important it is to find out what right career you should opt for.
Actually, I want to give message that success comes when you align your strengths, your career with your passion and purposes.
All right.
Definitely you should take your time, understand your capabilities, what is actually in you. You should know your expertise, which field you have to choose in a future, because basically your path, your career path should reflect who you actually are. Because if your expertise are in medical or you are going to engineer, then you should not perform well. So definitely your teachers play a very important role, very vital role to discuss it, to tell you that which expertise you have. So definitely you should never afraid to dream big, because we all have rights. Whether we belong to elite class or we belong to poor class, we all have right to dream big. Because if we will not see dream, then we will not can change it into reality.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hina. Dr. Ayesha, I'd like to know your concluding remarks regarding the idea of Career Quest and the topic that we have today, that is planning and finding out your strengths and locating what exactly you should do in life.
First of all, I would say that this is a very good effort of discussing about career and what are the issues that hinder the process of effective decision making about career. So I would like to congratulate you and
Thank
your
you so
team for choosing such a sensitive topic and much needed discussion on this topic. Of course, my message would be that, as I earlier said, that career is something you have to live with.
All right.
And there is no career, no such career that we say is, that we can say is with a certain scope.
All right.
Every career you are good at, every choice you are good at has a bright scope for you.
All right.
So, you should make, I would request all the students that they should make their career choices sanely, mindfully, consciously, by considering their interest, by seeking professional advice, and making their decisions, by recognizing their abilities.
All right.
And I would also like to request our respected parents that they should not pressurize their children to follow their choices. Rather, they should assist their children in completing their quest for a right career and in fulfilling their dreams.
We have got your point, Dr. Ayesha. Thank you so much for coming to Career Quest. Thank you so much, Dr. Hina, for coming as well. That's all for today, viewers. We talked about how important it is to locate your interests and strengths, and as they say, that when you blend your profession and passion, you rightfully opt for a career which is fulfilling, as well as a career which you could proudly call your own. This is your host Muhammad Ali Haider signing out. Till next time, Allah Hafiz.